I'm a DeFi, going to Dcentral, minting NFT, farming DeFi, being crypto poor but JPEG rich.
But let me introduce our next speaker to the stage. This speaker has a project that doesn't just sit in the metaverse. No, we're not going to stop at something we haven't even fully defined or put our mind around yet, is projected to be in the trillions of dollars in terms of market cap. This next speaker is talking about refining the lending in the metaverse. So we're going one step beyond the step beyond the step. I'm so excited to hear what this gentleman has to say, so please join me in welcoming to the stage Ankitt.
Good afternoon, Austin. I believe after lunch, the second session is really the tough one to be discussing finance, especially lending and DeFi stuff. Well, before we get into the serious part of it, I would want to discuss a little bit on where are we heading with metaverses and eventually what's the end game. Today, as we see metaverses and we know metaverses, it is all about just getting into a 3D experience and trying to understand and just explore Dcentral, Sandbox, and many other metaverses out there. But essentially, what are we doing there? And what is the end game? Like, what's going to happen with it? To understand this, let us quickly go back and try to understand how did our social media started. So when Facebook started, there was no commerce associated to it. It was all about fun. Then came game, to have people glued to the screen to the Facebook. And then gradually, the commerce thing came into picture, the advertisements came into picture, the businesses came into picture, and that's what actually made Facebook what it is today. Metaverses are actually the new form of commerce, where the metaverses are going to create a new term for commerce called experiential commerce. When the internet came, it transformed the way we do shopping, the way we do commerce, in the sense that it created e-commerce, which was electronic commerce. But with the help of 3D technologies, with the help of decentralization, we are heading into the new version of commerce called experiential commerce. And with that, a lot of businesses are going to come in, are already stepping in. We are seeing brands coming in to the metaverses. We are seeing various different financial services like JP Morgan Chase opened up their branch in the metaverses. Why? Because this is the new way of communicating and interacting with your customers. This is the new way of shopping. This is the new way of watching a movie with your friends, because internet disrupted a lot of industries, but still there are a lot of industries which are related to experiences which are not being disrupted to the core. They are only being touched to ticketing. Even today, when you want to go to watch movies, you go to the movie theaters. I'm not talking about Netflix though, but to have an experience, people still go to movie theaters. There, you do not have the flexibility and convenience to go to movie theaters with your loved ones, because somebody is living in LA, somebody is living in Dubai, somebody is living in London. With metaverses coming into play, these kind of experiential industries are going to get disrupted to the core, where in the metaverse, you can watch a movie with your loved ones from any part of the world together, sitting and discussing the movie scenes like you would have done in real life. So, we have quickly discussed the eventual end game of metaverses. Metaverses beyond entertainment, metaverses beyond exploration, where they are going to start touching our daily lives, where you are going to start walking into a Tesco store or a Target store or a Walmart store and do shopping from the store, which is more immersive rather than just an online website. Now, why am I talking all this? It's not just to show you where we are heading, but what is in it for you guys or everyone else to actually be able to benefit out of it. Now imagine we see a new town coming up. We identify that, okay, this is where going to be the shopping district. This is where we are going to have residential apartments. This is where people are going to come. As a smart investor into real estate, what we do? We go and try to procure that real estate so that either we can sell that real estate, we can lease out that real estate to the businesses who are coming there to set up their shops. That's where the early mover advantage people get. And that is why a lot of people today are buying lands in these metaverses. Because the commodity of land, the commodity of these digital assets, which we call as NFTs, beyond gaming, is also scarce. Because a metaverse, like a real estate, can also expand to a certain level, and then they have to recreate that particular 3D environment for further expansion. So the process is quite similar. Hence, we typically need to acquire those digital assets, whether it is in form of land, whether it is in form of the 3D creation that we get, because not everybody can sit and create it. There are companies, there are services who are already existing who help you create your store up and running in Dcentral. When this has to happen, not today everyone can go and afford a land which is worth $300,000 in Dcentral right in Fashion District. What do? That's where the lending and the importance of finance in metaverses comes into play. So you go and take mortgage. Like you do on the real estate in your real life, you take mortgage from a bank by paying a small percentage, and balance, you have two choices. You pay either by an EMI from your pocket, or you rent it out and the rent gets settled, settle your EMIs. This is where we are all heading, and that's why there's an importance of having credit facilities in the metaverses. This is one example. I'm sure there are a lot of people, a lot of creators who are enabling thinking, dreaming on an everyday basis on various different use cases and where the capital is going to be required. Not only does the real estate, there are going to be over-the-counter consumer loans for the expensive digital items, gaming assets, and people and it is not being funded by individual banks. It is being democratized using the decentralized finance technologies by the people. So through gaming guilds, there are metaverse guilds that are also coming up. There are many projects who are building and enabling where people become part of those guilds, and they put together funds to fund somebody's piece of land, and that land is being controlled and being managed by the smart contracts. There are not just the metaverses, there are collectible and cultural NFTs as well, which people are now trying to get into towards accepting them. For example, BAYC. Today BAYC is for 100 Ether. It's tough for everyone to own it, but everyone wants to own it. So multiple people coming in together, not just for co-owning it, but funding it, and somebody is taking a mortgage on BAYC, as an example I'm giving, which is further going to be given out for creating movies and generating revenue. So the idea here is you need metaverse assets to have credit for generating income from those assets by putting in and buying those assets using mortgage. So that is what MetaFi is all about, and that is what the DeFi 2.0 is heading into. So the primary point of this discussion today was to put a tone for the industry where DeFi and metaverses are merging together and are creating opportunities for everyone to participate into the next generation of metaverse adoption. Right now, we see generation 1 metaverses, which is Dcentral Sandbox. But there are many metaverses which are right now in making, like High Street, which is primarily focusing on experiential commerces, on setting up fashion shops, setting up experiential shops, and various different mechanics. So what we are discussing in the sense of disruption of our personal lives, of our day-to-day lives, beyond gaming and entertainment, is happening today. So you can explore these opportunities in the metaverse space and be part of it, be part of the future. Thank you.